All right, ladies. Thank you all for joining us today. I have this lovely group of lovely women and amazing energy all here at once. And I'm super excited to introduce all of us. And why don't we start with Dr. Erin? Do you want to share a little bit about you?
Sure. I'm Dr. Erin. I'm a doctor of divinity, founder of Soul Society and Good Morning La Land. And I am thrilled to be here talking about law of attraction and manifesting. So I'm just going to dive right into it because I think that one of the things we're all faced with is if we're manifesting, how are we responsible for this, right? How are we responsible? If everything's in consciousness, everything begins in mind, how do we create the coronavirus? And how do we create, a crisis, a pandemic and an economical crisis? So Ginny. We've had a little like, is it Jenny? Is it Ginny? It's like gin, like the drink. So I'm going to drink a little Jenny. Okay, got it. So Jenny, how would you answer that? I still can't say. I have no idea. I can't tell the difference.
Okay, did you want to jump right into questions, or did you want to introduce, or as we go?
Why don't you introduce and answer at the same time?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry.
First, I can't wait to answer this question. So I'm Ginny Gain. I'm a law of attraction coach, founder of Live Your Truth, and creator of LOA Skills Camp. So I work in the law of attraction. I help women like step into their power and create the life they want using LOA. So when you say, how are we responsible for this crisis? The first thing that pops out to me is like, is there something bigger underneath this? So we 100% manifested this, 100%. Like if you think of one of the biggest things happening right now, our world is taking a step back, and on a global scale, we have to slow down. And how many people have been asking for that, right? Like our connection to truth comes through quiet and space. And that is what is happening, not with everybody, but it's bringing more of a potential for that on a global scale. And that is totally in response to everything we've been asking for. So I can 100% see that.
Awesome.
So Elle, how would you answer that?
Introduce yourself first.
Hey, I'm Elle Russ.
Wait, just so everyone knows out there, I wasn't just this we have a little game that we're going to play. And I think that we didn't understand that we were going to go around and each of us were going to ask something and then everyone was going to answer it. And then we're going to So I probably took that out of context because they have no idea what's going on.
It works.
So I didn't just take over the show here.
It works. First of all, I love the question and I love the response so far. Without subscribing a meaning to why and which way it happened, I guess I can just say on the other side that I do see this as like a major global reset in a variety of ways. So for example, let's say you don't believe in climate change. Well, we can see, less of manufacturing, the air is better. It's like, okay, well, there's that for our mother nature. That's lovely. But then also too, I'm hearing from there's people that are, trapped inside with family, friends, whatever. And they're saying, this is really making me rethink who I want to spend time with, or, ooh, life's short. And I think those are the juicy things coming out of this or it's like this level of willpower. Everyone's been wanting time. It's like, I never have time to write my book. Well, guess what? Now you got time now, mother effer. You have no excuses after this quarantine telling me you didn't write that screenplay you wanted to write. I'm going to hold everyone accountable to it, including myself. Like I have an audiobook to record and I'm like, I can't get away with this now. I cannot get away.
And so now they're like, what's my next excuse?
Exactly. And I think that what's interesting is that Arian Alexander, Dr. Erin, Arian, I was doing a live with her yesterday. And she was saying that, one of her friends came to her all stressed out, like, oh, it's the pandemic and my job or fear. And she's like, yeah, no, you've been expressing that same fear for the past 2 years, girl. I know you. So I think if anything, it's bringing out what's already there. But I love the fact that it's making people truly think about what's important. And also, what do you want to do with your lives? Like, again, if you're trapped inside with a husband or a wife that you can't stand, but you don't see each other too much, now you're going, oh my God, I'm really rethinking this. Or
Make
whatever.
it or break it.
That's right.
So I like it for that. I'm seeing so many positives in it. And hey, this is a shout out. All of us on here are really having a first class issue with this thing. So this is not to say there are people out there who can't afford food and this is brutal. But again, for the people out there that there's just so much positive stuff to get from this, I feel like this is the best manifesting time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I agree.
I don't know if I answered it, but that
you did. And so I'm Kate Kate from K8 for Wellness. I am a nutrition coach, and I'm a big manifester, and I love law of attraction, have been doing that. It's been a huge part of my healing journey. And I love to bring people into this kind of way of thinking. For me, I think the same thing. I love the answers so far, and I'm excited to hear what Dr. Erin has to say about this, her answer. But for me, I think this is a great opportunity too. I see nothing but positive out of this. And I feel that, yeah, we are all deliberate creators. We all make our own life and choose our own paths. Yeah, I feel there is definitely something that we did create here, but I'm looking at it as a positive thing too. I've never felt more taken care of. I've never felt more positive about everything that's going on. And so for me, it's helping people keep that as well and help them realize they can make, it's their choice on how they want to make that and how they want to feel and how the outcomes of all this. And I think there's a lot of positive, like Elle said, that we're seeing, things that need to get done, that should get done, things that we've been asking for of slowing down. Mother Nature is making us do that now. So I totally love that way of looking, and it's just definitely in alignment. This is why I have you guys on. You guys are all in the same alignment and way of thinking. How about you, Dr. Erin?
Oh, I love all your answers. And I love that it's, you guys just care about what people are doing with it. You know what I mean? I think that to dive too much into how we created it can sometimes be a little bit like beating the horse. But from a metaphysical standpoint and from a New Thought minister standpoint, we teach that there's a law of cause and effect. And the cause is always spirit, it's always consciousness. But consciousness, so how does the person that say say a poor person that's starving right now, doesn't have, how did they create this, right? And they're going, well, why? That's like kind of cruel. People might go, why would you say people are creating this? You know what I mean? So we have to recognize that our consciousness is not just individual consciousness. Yeah. Our consciousness is collective, is with one with the collective and one with the cosmic. So everything we are seeing is the outpicturing of the cause of our oneness. And some of it's great, like the beautiful things that we're seeing. And some of it is a resetting. It always goes back to harmony. So nature has a way of bringing harmony to it. So if we are out of alignment with harmony, we'll take ourselves out of it with the virus, right? Whether it comes from a man-made thing or whether it came from mistreating animals or whether it comes from whatever, it balances itself. Nature balances itself. And that's what it's doing right now. And we have to take a look at what can we do to make new choices to potentially make this, these pandemics not happen, or is this just a natural thing that's just going to keep occurring? We don't know for sure, but I like your guys' answer in that we can get where it came from, but really, what do we do now? And how do we deal with this? And how do we come together as community? How do we make sure that we have resources and not just having more pharmaceuticals to put Band-Aids on it, but to actually get to the core of the issue? And quite frankly, I'm a total optimist, but I also kind of believe that we have a long way further down to go to have the real wake-up call. I don't think this is it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is it.
That. I love how you highlighted it's a one whole consciousness as an individual consciousness. So yes, we create our lives, but we're also connected to the global consciousness. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so that poor person out there that might be like, I don't have money, and how did I create? In some way, they're being more blessed because they're having a deeper, bigger wake-up call than the next person that's like us, that we're sitting in our house, like, right?
The co-creative element to that, like being able, we were talking about this earlier, Cassie and I were actually talking about it being one person being in a more privileged place versus another. It gives this the opportunity to support this part of the world, if we're talking different levels, person to person or country to country, and that coming together. Like that experience, that journey is why we're here.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree.
And I can only say and I know Kate has this experience too, but we've had a couple of health things that have kicked our butts over the years, and they have been gifts wrapped in shit, period, end of story. They are some of the biggest blessings. I would never take them back. And you guys all know my story on that, and Kate's as well. So it's interesting. Like we all talk, well, first of all, we all talk about, gratitude and all this stuff, but wow, I'm like getting goosebumps because I've never felt more grateful in my life, really, than maybe right now, and possibly not being in the World Trade Center during 9/11, but definitely right now for just everything, right? Just, oh my gosh, I'm healthy right at this moment. So I think this is like a great time for gratitude. It's just coming upon me naturally. I know the people that are in the victim mentality are probably going to go down their direction. but it's just inspiring me more. And then the other thing too, like we always talk and we know that it's good to switch up one's brain, get out of a routine. Well, what better way to do it? I'm getting my ass handed to me with like home workouts, and I'm walking in my neighborhood, which is beautiful, but I go to the gym every day or I go on a hike, and now I'm walking in my neighborhood and I'm like, why haven't I been doing this for 5 years? You know, I drive to a hike, or just like I'm living in one, just extra appreciation. I feel so grateful right now. I just think it's a really good time to get back to basics with gratitude, because if you are living and breathing right now, man, just to be at that base level, that's the stuff people are grateful for in Syria, like in rubble. And we don't ever have to be there, but like, this is a little ground zero-y. So I feel like this is the perfect time to build it. And then we also really have the time, like a lot of people we always talk about this. I know you guys would agree with me. It's so important to enjoy your own company. When you are 9 to 5 and you're in this cycle, you go home, you watch TV, and you don't really know yourself. And then you're kind of alone for a while and you're bored. Well, guess what? There's no FOMO anymore, because there's no fear of missing out, because no one's doing a damn thing. I never had FOMO, but I'm like, oh, FOMO people are loving it right now, because they have it's completely disappeared. But like, aside from that, again, just the time to like sit with oneself and do the self-examination. When are you ever going to do it? And I think that's where some people might be struggling, because they're like, oh, I'm bored or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but ooh, if you get in there, this is the juiciest time. I feel like it's a gift. It's like, here, you're quarantined. Let's see what you do with it. So grateful. And then switching up one's brain, you know, meaning like you have to switch up your daily routine or find new things to be creative with a workout or with cooking or rationing food. This is giving me a bigger appreciation for food, right? Because we're careful now, but we don't want to go to the store too much. And so I'm eating simpler, but I'm also like, I'm saving money actually, because I'm not just like, oh, I'll go pick that up because I want to grab that. So in a way, I feel like there's lots of good lessons here for conservation, for simplicity, for enjoying one's own company, or getting to that point, and for self-examination. I just don't see a better time for it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so funny you say that, because I've noticed that too, where I've gotten to that point. I mean, now that the way that I'm eating, I don't buy as much, but before I would always be like, oh, I got a new client, I can go out and get some food here. I'll stop here, even though I had the food at my house, or, and, you know, so it's being a more cautious, cognizant, aware. There's people out there, like you said, that, you know, I'm lucky because the way I eat, I go to the store and it's there, it's not depleted. So I don't hoard, as people are calling it. I just go get what I need for a couple of days and then we're good. You know, I don't
go
have
5 cupboards full of carbohydrates of like
no.
you know, carbs.
You know, it's kind of funny because I even said that when I was talking to Cassie the other day. I was like, you know what, everyone's out there franticking and panicking, and I was like, okay, I set that intention knowing, okay, this is what I need, and I know it's going to be there because I need it. And sure enough, I go to the store, everything's there that I need, and then some, but I only took what I needed and left for the rest, you know. So
talk about manifesting.
Right? I'm a powerful manifester.
That's right.
You know, I want to throw something out there, which is, I just had this thought. Oh, so you know, I work for Mark Sisson, who wrote the Primal Blueprint, and he's got like a series of Primal Blueprint laws, you know, avoid poisonous things, right? You know, exercise. But one of them is avoid stupid mistakes. And I thinking about this recently because I'm not a scaredy pants person who's paranoid, but because we know the hospitals are crowded and we know, it's like I almost tripped on a hike the other day and I thought, not the time for a broken ankle. It's making me more present.
Yeah.
Because I'm like cutting food. I'm like, you know, this is not the time to like accidentally cut your finger. This is not the time for stupid mistakes, right? Yeah. So in a way that kind of is coming up, which I never thought I'd like pull that out of there. But because I'm noticing myself being more mindful of like walking and where I'm going, just to be like, hey, like, and again, I'm not a paranoid person. It's more mindful. It's not fearful, but it's just thinking awareness about what's out there right now. And this is the last thing I need to do is like, I burned my hand on some stove because I was cooking too fast. And next thing you know, so in a way it's forcing me to be more present than I normally am. Well, bonus.
Yeah, right.
Bonus alignment.
So I'm going to throw out a question out there because I'm interested in hearing how you ladies came upon LOA and manifesting. So I'm going to start with Ginny. Let's have you're first on my screen. So I'll have you go first.
Well, officially, because, you know, we're all manifestors. We're born manifestors. We're vibrational translators from the second we are alive or before. Well, That can be debated. So I was actually started learning the power of the mind when I was 9. So that was really like advantageous in terms of my evolution. But in terms of officially law of attraction, it wasn't until I was traveling for a year in Australia on my own, and had called my parents from a payphone. I had to like get a card, dial the international call, and they had said, "Oh, we just came across this book. It's called The Power of Emotions." Sorry, my computer's shaking. My cat keeps jumping on the table. And they recommended me this book, and I was like, look, I'm traveling, I'm broke, I can't spend $35 on this store-bought book. And anyways, I walked, so this is it in practice, I walked down it was like an outdoor mall, and on the bookshelf on the table on the very outside was that book. And I'm like, okay, I hear it. And it was too obvious to ignore. And that's when I picked up that book and I read it, and it was just like an instant click. And so that's one of my go-tos. That was my first introduction to like real LOA, or like that terminology.
Awesome.
And then from there, it was just instant. I got it. I loved it. And I was like, oh, this is my path. I didn't know I was going to be working in this for another 5 years, but just living it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in, Ginny, and I'm going to have Dr. Erin answer, because I know that she's got to lead a little bit. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I mean, my story, as Elle knows, I've been on her podcast as well. I had a stillborn at 22, a full-term stillborn. And I gave birth to his body. And the next day I was in the mortician's house alone in the basement, in a basement room, and just had a huge epiphany, realizing that he was gone and his body was still here. And it sent me on a big spiritual track, which was 25 years ago now. And it's so funny because I didn't know. I had been reading, I read every book. I meditated. I went to all the conferences. I did all this stuff. And I mean, I went through shamanism. I even tried Scientology. I dove into everything. And it wasn't until way down my track that I realized, like, oh, there's a whole genre here, which is law of attraction, but really before that it was called New Thought. It's called the New Thought movement, and it's the mental cure movement. And it's where it's really a lineage that goes back to the beginning of time, which is really the energy, understanding energy. But when I finally got it, it was like when I finally understood there's a thing called universal law and there's a movement around, I was like, duh, like, how do we not know this stuff? Like, it makes me a little bit mad that we don't teach our children this, because it's like basics of basics of basics. And obviously now everyone is, the universe is my BFF, as everyone's like, so it's so common now. Whereas back when I was trying to seek it out, it wasn't like it is now. So I just love the industry. And I do think there's a lot of people that don't understand it. They may understand a little bit, but there's parts of it that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to think it's not just about not being positive. Like, you should just suppress the, and I know you guys agree with that, like doing your trauma work and doing stuff, I think is super important. And I think now the movement is understanding that, which I think is really important. So I'm glad to know that there's people like you guys that understand it and get it and implement the things that need to happen so people can use their mind to create stuff. So I am adoring you. I'm going to listen in while you guys finish this, and then I'm going to pop out so I don't interrupt anybody. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Elle, it's your turn,
I was going to say, we could give Erin the last few minutes here before she has to pop off, and throw her another curveball. Let's see what she.
Sure.
I think that the thing that just looking at what's going on out there in the world, and I think look, we're all really privileged. Let's face the fact, and luckily, we probably all have some money in the bank and we're able to survive for a little bit. And I just really want to reflect on people that are losing, we're dealing with all kinds of clients, as you guys know, and there's, people are losing millions of dollars in companies to just being at home with their children and really not just being thrown into the, lion's den, just like, I don't know how to do this, kind of completely out of people that are dealing with major anxiety and all kinds of things out there. And I'm just like you guys. In 2008 with that downturn, it was the woman that I was then versus now is completely different. I haven't had a moment of fear. And I just want to just acknowledge you guys and acknowledge anybody out there that has done their emotional work, their development work, that people need us. because we're able to hold space and be there. And it's so important. And just anyone who's listening, just know you will get there. This is for your benefit. This is for the awakening. We cannot put our worth or anything out in the world. This body will have to go one day. Our material things have to go one day. Our connection, our relationships, our experience is the most important thing. So just hang in there. Know that this too shall pass if you do your inner work. Okay. So thank you guys. Thanks so much. I really, really
I would
appreciate it.
love, can I ask you one more question?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So in that time, that 12 years then, and you're saying you're a whole new person, what is what is one of the major qualities that you really had to embody and grow into to be who you are now?
Well, becoming a spiritual practitioner was probably the core work of all of it, which means a spiritual practitioner is someone who practices and lives on principle, meaning that we do not ever use our mind to focus on what is wrong, other than if it's to fix something and handle it. And then it's always to direct, as you know, to direct it towards what you do want to create. So, when I first started it, I was kind of doing it back in 2008, but I wasn't as disciplined as I am now, There was still discipline for sure. Or people in my life that were up to shenanigans and BS and just, all those people, I don't have anybody in my life like that anymore, just things like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks for asking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love for you guys to answer that as well. I think that's something.
Well, if you have to go, tell us how we can find you, because you have so much good stuff for people,
Oh,
so much
sweet.
great free content.
Thank you. You can find me across all social media as drerin.tv, which is DRERIN.tv. We do have a great free community we've launched because of everything. It's called Inner Circle. It's part of Soulciety. So you can find it on my bios and all the places. It's all free. I do a daily prayer in the morning, which is not to man in the sky. It's to expanding our consciousness to embody the highest version of ourselves. Nice. And then we have all kinds of support group sessions and all kinds of content. So love to have you guys in there and interview you guys down the line. And I just love everything you're doing. I love you, Elle, so much. And
Nice to
keep up all the amazing work, you guys. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Erin.
Okay. Thank you.
Hugs. Bye.
Bye. She's amazing. I'm so glad we got to have her.
I love that. I've never met her.
Actually, Ginny, you and Cassie were supposed to be on Good Morning
Lala.
She's one of the hosts, but they have that on hiatus now. They're looking for a new home, but whatever. We can always do that at another time. But she's great.
Cool.
Yeah,
she is great. She's awesome. So
I have more. I would love. Do you want to continue on with that question? So if you think about yourself along your journey, go 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and you think about how far you've come and what are those main qualities that you've had to, I guess I'll direct it at Elle first, the main qualities you've had to step into to be where you are now as confident as fuck.
I love that.
It took a couple things, because here's the thing. I was manifesting using law of attraction and getting into the power of subconscious mind around 2007. And it was right as I was getting better after my hypothyroidism bout. Hadn't written the book yet, but I was getting better. I was broke. I was depressed. I was just, I was a negative Nancy a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. I always felt when I was a kid that there was some kind of magic in the world, but I was like, where is it? And then when I found LOA, I was like, oh, that's the magic. So what happened was a friend came to me who I really trusted, one of my best friends. And he said, listen, you have to listen to the audiobook of The Secret. He said, don't watch the movie, listen to the audiobook. He was very specific about that, probably because the movie's 90 minutes and the audiobook's 4 hours and it's just straight up. And the movie has some cheesy production quality. So he knew I'd be turned off by that. Yes. So he gave that to me. And honestly, holy crap, you guys, I manifested I don't know. I wrote myself a check for $207,000 and I ended up making 200 extra that year out of nowhere. No how, no way. Manifested a free iPhone. I did the vision boards. I had it all going. I'm oh my gosh. So I was manifesting and doing all this stuff. However, what I failed to do is what Erin was talking about until later, which was I had to clean up some stuff inside. Mm-hmm. You could still have some residual stuff there that you're sweeping under the rug that you don't know about, you know what I mean? Or that you think might not be affecting a certain arena. And so I talk about in my book, but in general, as a quick synopsis, mine was with attracting romantic relationships and the quality of those. And I had such a horrible level of shame about this physical disability that I still have, whatever, it's fine. I don't mind the word anymore. but I carried such great shame. I realized now that that totally disables confidence. So even though I'm confident, all the way around, I had to go through and clean up again some of the trauma I had around it, and also just really the shame and embarrassment, which is a sense of low self-worth, even though in every other area of my life, totally self-worth, totally confident. But if you think this one little area over here is, gonna like, oh, no one's gonna see, no, it's gonna seep in, right? So I feel like my extra, like I had to do that. And I was like, man, I had some things I needed to work on. But in the meantime, but in general though, my life's been amazing since then, because I know that everything happens to me is really my responsibility to some degree. And we know that doesn't mean blame. And my manifestation skills are amazing, and I always have something to fall back onto. And I believe now I have the magic that I always thought was there and was hoping to find. And I think, to me, that's like the best part of all of it. It's this thing that I kind of felt was there as a kid somewhere, because see, when I was a kid, I would like win contests and I would intend and it would work. And I'd be like, this is kind of magic, but I didn't know anything about it. So I just studied and studied and went nuts with it. I listened to everybody. I read everyone's books, still do. And again, just, I think the biggest part of me for the past, let's see, that was 2007. I think for the past 3-4 years is really me doing a lot of this shame cleanup. And that has just, and the prizes have been amazing from it. So I'm really glad that I did it, but I now feel like I'm even a better manifester.
So it's like the quality to move through the shame is like being vulnerable.
100%. That was it, because as an alpha female, I had issues being vulnerable. I didn't like it. I saw it as a weakness, like most alpha females do. We don't want to show any weakness. And people told me, my coach would tell me that to be more vulnerable, you have to be, and I didn't want to be. But here's the thing, that what I argue in the book, and I don't know if you've read it, Ginny, yet, but I know Kate has, what I argue is that being confident as fuck is actually, being vulnerable is being confident as fuck, because that is the ultimate not caring about what other people's opinions are of you.
Exactly.
And if you're able to show emotion and be out there, and I'm not saying wear your heart on your sleeve, everybody, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And obviously I go into depth more in the book on this. So being vulnerable, and then being vulnerable about my shame, and then opening up, and also getting to the point where I had no shame about my shame. Now I can tell the story anywhere, know how, but I could not get through telling a friend that didn't know about it without bawling my eyes out for 20 freaking damn years. So even though along that 20 years I discovered LOA and I'm doing stuff, then you kind of like hit a wall. Yeah. And that wall is you. And I was like, my wall just got hit, because and that was a harsh day, guys. But I'm so glad I did it, because that work, now I feel like really free, guys, like really free.
Yeah. You guys are going to love this. It's like LOA in action. So what you were just saying about being vulnerable, I just like 15 minutes ago, or before I got on this call, saved this quote, just what you said. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for your love.
Indian Elder. I love that
poem.
For
the adventure of being alive. And I'm like,
I love that poem.
I love it.
That's the Indian Elder, is the guy who signed. I love that poem. I've had that poem on my wall forever. Love that. And talk about synchronicity, that's awesome.
Well, what about you, Kate? Or like, what are your thoughts on that, guys? I mean, is there something that, like, for example, you knew you got into the manifestation, you got into LOA. Did you discover something along the road too that you're like, got this over here?
Well,
go.
Oh, I was going to say, I haven't been practicing as long as you guys have. It's been about 7 years for me. But I had the same kind of thing with you, Elle. So I had this illness for the longest time. But I think really what that illness was what was going on up here. I think it was more up here than anything. And a lot of that too was because I was 14 when I was pregnant, and I was basically told I was never going to amount to anything. That stuck in my head my whole life. And it's funny because I can talk about it now without crying. And that is just something that was released recently. Even though I've been doing this work for 7 years, there was a point in time that, I was taking care of everything, right? But like you said, you hit that wall, and that wall is you. And that's what it came down to, was me, this belief that I held in my head, and of I'm not enough. And so I've been healing that for the past, year and a half. And it's made me heal that much faster. And a lot of it is through being able to have that openness for the law of attraction and the manifesting, it's become faster and more powerful since that has been taken care of. And
Yeah.
same thing, I came across it with David. Actually, I was healing and he was like, you should, read some Mike Dooley. So I started reading Mike Dooley.
I love
Fell
Mike
in love
Dooley.
with
I
him.
love him. He's like I have such a LOA crush on him. Yeah.
Same here. And then my other one is Joe Dispenza, because he's a chiropractor and so is David. And he was, I love that story. And so then I just fell in love with Esther Hicks. I mean, it just kept going and going. And then I fell in love with you, Elle. And then all of a sudden you have these two awesome women on your
It's just
podcast.
a love fest here.
I know, right? And then she had these two awesome women named Ginny and Cassie on her podcast. And so I paused the podcast and then went on a Manifest It Now spree. So it's just been like one thing after another. So it's just been an amazing, amazing route for me. And I just wish I knew it before, I wish I had, but obviously it didn't happen because it was divine timing. It happened when it should have happened.
Totally.
So, yeah.
What about you, Ginny? Did you notice something like you were going and then you're like, there's something else here I got to deal with?
Well, firstly, I wanted to say, I feel like these things we get to, the going wall. I think that's just life. I think there's probably bigger ones that we go through, but I think that if you're constantly evolving, it's a good sign when you get to those, because even where we're at, and we're very aware, there's tons of space for us to go. And that's exciting. So my biggest thing, I think, when I think about that question of what I had to embody to really free myself, it was, I thought I was so good at relationships. I was like, I'm a great partner and it's always just their fault. And, so one of the big things that it was a huge wake up call for me was oh shit, it's actually me. I'm the common denominator. And the biggest thing that I had such a passion for true love, I didn't want to settle. Because I was told, you get into a marriage, you have to settle, you have to sacrifice this. And I'm like, I don't believe that. I want to find this person that I can explore love with at the deepest level, and it's going to get better and better and better, and it's going to be everything I ever wanted. Storybook, but not the superficial part, And so I never wanted to accept that I had to settle. And so, but my problem was I thought it was them, and I wasn't doing the vulnerability, Elle, and I had to accept responsibility at a new level. And it's really funny because I take responsibility for your life, and there's endless levels of this. And so taking that on in a relationship and really being, the biggest difference is not basing how I feel on my partner's actions. And so when they would do something and I'd be like, okay, Jenny, you know how to do this, just make yourself feel good again. But I was still holding on to it. And then the resentment builds up, and then it's creates a dynamic, and it created it. Whereas it felt like they were doing something wrong. I created that, and that's not a mutual thing. And so finding the place where I could give my partner freedom was enlightening. It was a whole new world, and it required me to be vulnerable about who I was and what I really wanted, and what I really wanted when I didn't know what it was. That was it was I might want this and I might want this. And for someone, and then when someone loves you for who you are, in your most vulnerable state, then you're oh, that's what this is about. Totally. That's what this feels like. Yeah.
And and I couldn't fully love myself because I had shame about this thing. So how did I expect someone else, right? It's that same, by the way, if you're out there listening and you're an alpha female, this is a classic alpha problem with the vulnerability. And it's really something to look at. Yeah.
I think even, I guess I could go back and forth depending on the situation about being alpha, but it's definitely vulnerability, because I think it kind of, even the I am enough is part of being vulnerable too, saying that knowing what I want and going after it, and not speaking my truth and what I really need at that moment in time, instead of just stuffing it and saying, well, I'm not worthy of that. So it's kind of the same thing, being vulnerable. I think that's just something that we as human beings have to work on all the time because it's just uncomfortable.
Practice,
We've been told it's bad if you cry. It's bad if you know, that's just something that our society has created. And I think that a lot of us struggle with that. And I think it's great that we all work on it.
We have to, like, it's something we have to learn, like,
Yeah.
and practice. Even last week, like, we were having a conversation, Lisa and I were having a conversation, and I was like having an off-ish morning, but I did not want to admit that. So it created this, like, for a good half an hour, we're talking and we're like going like this. And finally I was just like, oh, it's just uncomfortable for me to communicate that I'm off. And then I was like, she's like, see? So it was like all, and then I'm like, oh man, this is that same thing about like just being vulnerable and let it be okay. And it diffuses it in a second.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's great.
I had a good law of attraction the other day.
Yeah.
That I have to share. It's a real good one. So we all have, right, our set of beliefs. And I have this belief, I've expressed it to you guys before, I've written in my book, but I have this belief that when you do something pro you, that's really tough, like you quit that big job that could be great because you really want something else, but everyone's like, okay, like those kind of things. I believe that when you make a move that's pro you and you don't suck in the other way, you get a prize from the universe. Just my belief. And again, what's true for me is true for me.
I mean, that kind of is how LOA works.
It's how it works, right?
Yeah.
So I always call them prizes. And so I had this situation where I had a somewhat difficult situation, but it was such a pro me move. Most women or most people in the scenario would probably not have chosen the very confident as F. And I even thought in that moment, I'm like, I got to take the confident as F move on this, or I'm just, So I did. And I said to my friends, I was talking about them, I'm like, all right, made that decision. And I said, I know I'm going to get a prize for this freaking thing, because I know most people would not have done this. It's such a pro you. I know I'm going to get a prize. Watch, I'm going to get some freaking prizes. And declared it to a couple people. I am not kidding you guys. 24 hours, like literally 24 hours later. I guess I should prep this with, I'm in love with Hawaii. I spend as much free time as I can there. My family's lived there for 30 years. I've gone there for a month at a time. I'd love to live there someday or several months of the year. So I'm always obsessed with Hawaii. 24 hours later, I get a call, random woman off of the internet who's like, oh my God, I love your work. What's it going to take you to get you to fly to Hawaii next February to speak in front of 30 powerhouse women in like the health and wellness industry? And I was like,
of course.
And it takes an invitation.
I'm like, basically, I'll pay you to and it's like what I'm saying. So I mean, and here's the thing, and then we ended up talking. And here's the thing. Now, even in that moment, it didn't even matter. And this is how you have to take that. I think you would agree with me. It didn't matter if it actually manifested and came true. The fact that offer and opportunity showed up was more proof of my belief. That in and of itself is just great. I didn't even care if the end result was that I'm actually there. Although, yes, I like to be. So I ended up speaking to her. It looks like it'll probably work out. And it's going to be, of course, on one of two of my favorite islands. Not surprised.
Of course.
You guys, I have been kind of putting out there like, yeah, when someone, because people call Mark Sisson all the time to pay him to go speak everywhere because he's famous and whatever. And I'm always like, when am I going to get a call? They're like, yeah, I want to go to Hawaii or Costa, somewhere cool. And the fact it was 24. And here's the thing, I didn't get the message till 48 hours later. When I look back at the message on Instagram, it was literally about 24 hours right after I had pinged the decision. And I'm telling you, that was like, those are the moments, right? Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show you, like, that's my belief.
Yeah.
Hardcore. So it must happen. And I really declared it. I was super confident. I'm like, I'm going to get a freaking prize. I just wasn't expecting. It was better than any prize I could have ever expected.
Yeah.
It was like one of the best prizes ever. And that just happened like last week. And I was like, oh my God. And that reignites I love it. It reignites my childhood, yumminess with this.
I always love seeing those other people's evidence, but also, things that are happening. Like, for instance, you and I, Elle, spoke, was it a couple weeks ago, and you had told me, just start asking people to be on their podcast. I kid you not, the next morning, someone had sent me an email to be on their podcast. I was like, I love Elle. Like that energy together was just like, we totally manifested that. And since then I've been asked to be on 3 of them. So I was like, Gotta love
Nice.
Elle for throwing that out there.
Awesome.
Love it.
So things like that. What about you, Jenny? Share a recent LOA with us that happened to you. I'm manifesting.
We've
When
had
I
a lot of really good ones. You just got married, you got a house.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Really
She did.
delicious stuff happening.
You guys, that's hilarious. Like when you think of all those big things, I just got married and bought a house. And the example I wanted to give you was that comes to mind is, it's funny. I don't even think of them as like manifestations. It's just life. Like that's just my life. But yes, those are amazing. But it was probably a couple months ago now that Lisa and I were having a conversation, and I was a little backstory. I love to travel. I love to be more of a nomad than in one spot. And so we had just bought this house. We were a couple months in, and Lisa kind of asked, she was like, so, how you doing? You've been in one spot. How you feeling with the house, the whole staying in one spot thing, routine? And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a bit antsy. And it was fine. Like it's amazing having this awareness and just being like, yeah, that's good. It's good to be aware of where you're at. And then, so in that conversation, it was almost like we put hey, wouldn't it be nice if more travel adventure came into our life somehow? And we both kind of had said that, yeah, that would be cool. And left it at that, knowing that's going to happen. And we just kind of said, like, life is an adventure anyways. And so it was a couple hours later, she called me. She was at work and she said, oh, so I just got a all expenses trip offered through work to Bermuda. And I'm like, amazing. Thank you.
By the way, 2 hours because you had no resistance. No one was arguing it. No one was saying, well, I'm not sure that's going to happen for a while. You guys were like, yeah, and let it go. No wonder it was 2 hours.
And the thing too was I could have went down the path because I did catch it. I'm like, oh, I do like to travel. Going down the path of what I don't have, or what, instead of like, oh yeah, I have been here. Oh yeah, I do really like to travel. I haven't done that in this long, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, oh, it's fine to want to travel. It's fine. It's a great desire to have. I know it will happen. And so I didn't push against the feeling or the desire, and then tuned into like, yeah, it'll happen, and then let it go. And that's,
it looks like there's another positive to the coronavirus then too, because it's like, you're staying in place right now.
Yeah.
You are going to get comfortable with it. Like, you're going to get comfortable with it.
Yeah. They're like,
Well, let's talk to Ginny in a couple months and see what kind of growth she's done.
Right.
I'm going to be amazing, guys.
Yeah, you
That's
are.
awesome. So you got like you're going to Bermuda at some point.
Yeah, we're going to be in it.
Ah,
Yeah, if things
Right.
unfold fine. Yeah.
Oh,
But
great.
again, even if it doesn't happen, the fact that it came in, so, that's evidence, right?
Exactly.
Like it's the same story I was talking about, like whether it happens or not, those are the things that keep fueling you.
Yeah. I think there's more excitement in seeing that than actually being in that. So let's say, you get excited because, Hawaii trip is coming and you got it unfolded, that you created that. And then when you go to Hawaii and being in there, it's not as exciting as the unfolding as it is, I love the unfolding process.
Yeah. The anticipation.
The anticipation. Yeah. All of that. It just seeing what you create, how it just gets put out there for you. It's just so awesome.
What about you, Kate? Do you have any sort of recent manifesting story?
Yeah. Well, you coming on this magnificent road trip that I've been wanting to do is going to be so much fun.
What are you guys doing?
We are going to do the Vermont 100, which is 200 miles, and it's the route
Biking, right?
Vermont 100. Yes, biking.
Have you done that before? Have I seen that on your Instagram before, where you sometimes do the GPS? You have not done it yet?
Not that one.
Okay.
I've done 50 miles, but I've never done a century. So this is going to be fun.
Wow, guys.
We're going to do back-to-back centuries.
I've also never cycled 100 miles.
So how long is that? I mean, what are we talking? Like, how do you do it over just one day, or?
Well, it usually is one day. They have a ride that they put together for everybody to go and do. And it starts in Canada. Well, the border of Vermont, Canada, and you work your way down to the border of Vermont and Massachusetts. So that's 200 miles. And so you gain like just over 9,000 feet in elevation. You hit 7 ski areas while you're doing that. And it's the most scenic route that you can do in Vermont. It's beautiful. Yeah. And the way that they have it, I can't do 200 to just right now where I'm at. I'm definitely working my way up to it, but I can't do 200 in one day and be done before dark, which they want you to be. So I was like, well, I'm just going to do it myself. And, and what better way to do it than ask some friends to do it with, because it's safer in numbers versus by yourself. And so I reached out to Ginny. I was like, I know Ginny and Lisa are very active. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Of course. She's like, yeah, I'll go.
Okay, so
yeah, because Ginny's like, I was just talking about getting the hell out of here. I'm getting antsy.
okay, so let me tell you about the other side of this co-creation. So like the week before, Lisa and I were talking about a new way we want to travel the world, and we want to like do cycle packing or cycle adventure biking, like bike with our stuff on our bikes. And so we had like spent a good couple days like just talking about it, getting excited, looking at different places, and then we talked about, okay, well, we're not just going to go jump in. We're going to do it slowly. And then it was like the next day, Kate's like, hey, do you want to come on this overnight trip? Like, I'll organize everything. And I'm like, yes.
Again, like 24 hours later, some of this stuff comes in really fast when there's no resistance and when you're not pushing it.
And when it's fun.
And I love that like Kate called you basically with like hey, well, if you want to prep for your thing, I got a great prep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's going to be fun, you guys. That's going to be awesome because I know you guys are really into that. That would be my nightmare. Of course, you've read my book.
Yeah.
I would not be able to.
Which is why I didn't ask you to come with us. Hey, you know what? You could drive my Jeep and be our support vehicle.
I see that I would be totally down for it. But also one of the reasons I don't cycle is because it's tough on my wrists and my hands. Yeah. But no. But yeah,
you could drive.
Awesome, you guys.
You could be the Jeeper for us, like.
Yeah, we're training in Florida though, which has no hills. So that's going to be interesting.
Well, it's funny. I sent Ginny my route yesterday. I said, here's my training route. And I get like 4,000 feet in elevation. And Ginny was like, wowza. She was like, oh man.
11 inches in elevation. In Florida.
Yeah. We can go over bridges. We can bridges.
Well, that rower you guys got will be amazing for this training.
Yeah. Okay.
It will be.
Yeah. Good.
Well, you guys are both like fitness beasts. So you guys are going to kill it on this thing. It's going to be fun.
That's
gonna
funny.
be great.
I don't consider myself a fitness beast.
Really? When I look at you and Kate, I'm like, you guys are killing it.
I would have to say you are too, Ginny. I would.
Oh my goodness, you
guys.
The beauty
Kate's probably the most savage of us all on this whole thing.
I
She's
wouldn't
the
go that
most
far.
badass.
I used to be, but not anymore. I've calmed down. I've really calmed down.
Kate, are those True Dark glasses?
Mm-hmm.
We just ordered some.
Are those blue blocking or what's going on with there? What do you?
Yeah, so these are raw optics. Matt Maruka sent me a pair, and I also have the daylight ones. So these are the night ones, and then the day ones are a little lighter than these, and they're not orange. They're more like a
yellow.
Well, they're more brown, I guess, would be the, and I wear those when I'm in front of the computer all the time. And when the sun sets, I put these on and they stay on all night.
Yeah.
So on its way down.
Does it help you sleep better?
Yeah, I notice a big difference. And
Nice.
I also notice a big difference when we turn off our router at night. But when the kids are here, our router's on, and I don't sleep well when that router's on.
Interesting.
You know what I got right here?
What do you have?
An EMF blocker.
The mini Juve light.
Oh.
Oh,
It's the red light.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have full body ones as
That's
well, which I
awesome.
had before. But this is also another, again, using light therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now, kind of being, even though it's sunny outside, but I'm not getting full body sun right now. But it's a great thing as well. But I used to have the blue blocking night glasses. But you know what, Kate? Will you email me whatever you've got during the day when you're looking at the computer? Because maybe I'll reach out to him and see if I can get a pair too. Because I would like something for when I'm looking at the computer.
Yeah, absolutely. And they come in these. Look at these boxes, right? These are awesome. But you want to know what it says on the inside? In order to elevate humanity, we must each elevate ourselves.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's
Isn't
like
that
the
amazing?
core of what I believe.
Exactly. And that's when I opened that. I got goosebumps when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Hey,
So,
Ginny, obviously if people don't know, love your book, The Champion Mindset.
yes.
What else you got right now? I know sometimes like you have freebies for people, or people can go on your website and look at stuff like what's going on right now, or what are you working on?
Okay, so this is like my literally today recent most inspiration. And it's been coming for so long, but it's so fun. I'm so excited. I was like, you know, when you were talking about how you get the inspiration and it doesn't matter if it goes anywhere or you get an idea, opportunity. I was working on this and it was like falling into place. And I'm like, I don't even care if this works out. I'm so excited about it. It's turned into like an LOA book club. So it came out of this thing. It came out of like, hey, parents are stuck at home with their kids, not stuck at home. They get to be at home with their kids, and giving them a half-hour break every day. And I'm going to go on Zoom. I'm going to read an LOA book for kids, like for children, teens, and they can listen. They don't, and it's going to be their attention. They can ask me any questions. And so kind of like a kids, teen, and family thing. And it's totally free. Like, just come in every day and we'll move through some different books. And isn't that going to be fun? Like,
I have goosebumps. It's the sweetest.
It's the sweetest.
But also, like, when you were talking, like, I've always, part of my ultimate dream is to get this into what
schools. Dr.
Erin was saying, get it into schools, get it into education. Like, why aren't we teaching our kids stuff? And I'm like, holy shit, this is like part of this.
Yes.
How?
Yes.
I don't know.
That is awesome.
My newest inspiration. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I think I saw your email for that today. It went out today. Yes.
Yeah, an hour ago or something.
Yes.
I
saw it. I didn't get a chance to read it because I was like, oh, I'm going to see you in a little bit. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
What about you, Elle? What do you?
Well, still just promoting the second book, having fun doing interviews for that. I am going to work likely on a third book with a doctor who was on my first book, not about thyroid, but we're going to write some kind of medical awesomeness, something with regards to health. It'll probably mostly be his book with me, right? Because he's the expert. So that'll probably be the summer, but honestly, I'm going to try to take the quarantine time and to record the audiobook for Confident as Fuck. It's the only thing I haven't done yet. So doing that. And then I just started a new podcast. I haven't totally fully announced it yet publicly to everyone, but I'm still going to do the Primal Blueprint where I interview people. But then I started one, it's kind of similar to you, Ginny, where it's going to be me and a friend, and we're just going to be talking, about positivity and stuff like that. So we're recording the third one tomorrow. I'll probably release it this month sometime. So that's kind of exciting, and it's been in the works. And I totally LOA'd that. And here's the thing about timing on that, because there were lots of other people that I had considered be like, who would be a good match for a co-host with me to just do this?
Yeah.
And there were so many great options. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm not feeling like pulling the trigger on any of those options yet. Why is that? They're really great. And this is, again, like, you get the idea, but it hasn't happened yet. You're just kind of mulling it around. And then, honestly, kind of a stranger appeared out of nowhere one time at a conference. And I was like, I think it's her. And it just was. And it just was. It was one of those things where I was like, now I'm ready. Because I had been talking about doing another podcast. And you know me, I'm not a procrastinator. It's not about that. But it's like, the timing has to be right. I knew I wanted to write a book on confidence a couple of years ago, but I just didn't. And then one day I was like, no, yeah. And so this was kind of one of those things where I've been mulling over doing another podcast for a year and a half or so. And it's all kind of really coming together now. And so, she might have said no because she has her own podcast too. But she was like, oh my gosh, I love this idea. I've been thinking about it myself. She's a manifester. I'm not surprised we co-created that. So I'm just really excited to just, we're going to be talking about just, life, awesomeness, positivity, all that kind of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and a lot less stress in terms of, well, not that it's stressful, but when you're interviewing people, you've got to get the graphics out to them. You're scheduling, it's so nice, Ginny, that you and Cassie, you just jump on a call and there you are. Yeah. So I'm kind of looking forward to having sort of a real streamlined, easy process with this. So I'm excited. I've just a lot of stuff going on and grateful to be doing it all from home. So grateful. And I know you guys are too, but yeah. And if you're out there and you are working from home, whether it's for your company or yourself, no complaints, guys. Like the ultimate first class problem to have. I know some friends of mine who are not happy working from home. They'd rather go to the office. They don't like it, but this is like, that's just first class problems.
Focus on gratitude. Focus what you are grateful for. Absolutely.
I want to point out so it's really interesting because I've had this experience. You know how we were talking about manifesting, like things manifest in 24 hours. Yeah. 24 hours, 48 hours. And then there's the things that are like, a year and a half, 2 years. 5 years, 10 years, and there's nothing, it's the processes, like whether it's 24 hours or a year and a half, it's that time, like the being non-resistant, that allows the unfolding to be so beautiful. You know, it's not about the time, how long it takes. And I don't know if this is 100% true, but in logically it makes sense in my mind, is that the bigger a desire, it needs more time for like an energy for you to focus on it and then come into alignment with it. So things like a free trip are quick to come versus like a dream, meeting your soulmate is going to take a little bit more time. And it doesn't mean it needs to take tens of years, but it's probably not going to be 24 hours. And I just like finding that, or remembering that it's okay if things don't show up immediately, because we always want it faster than it comes, right?
Well, and on that note though, like if I wouldn't have known about her a year and a half ago, because she wasn't out there yet. She had to probably be in a situation to even be noticeable, right? Or like you said, if it's a mate, maybe your perfect mate is just like finishing up a divorce and they've had their only 6 months alone and they need to get to where they need to go, right? There's that, like you said, co-creation. And I love that, because there wasn't any resistance to it. It was like, oh, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
No pressure. And then the timing was like, now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, got it. There it is.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important not to force. It's like, do I feel inspired for this? A little bit more, not so much now.
Yeah. It's so funny how that happens.
Yeah.
And I always believe too, you have to become that person first too, because maybe you're not ready either, you know?
Yep.
Yep. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
So
well, I want to say I'm a huge fan of both yours. I have been a regular listener to Manifest It Now, Ginny Gaines podcast, 4 years. Of all the podcasts, I am a podcaster. You know, Kate, it's like we got 100 health. We have some of the same guests, so it's like you're not going to listen to all the same podcasts. Your podcast is really one of the very few that I have downloaded regularly on my Apple podcast.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I listen to them too.
No, you guys are so great.
I love it.
That's good vibes. I'm always like, I just like put them on. I'm like, oh, I get to just hang out and listen to Cassie. It's going to be good vibes.
I know. It's just awesome. And I always look to see, you know, who Elle has, and if it's Elle that's actually the one that's doing the interview. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'll listen to this.
No, really supportive in community. And so, but anyone listening, really check out Manifest It Now. It's a really great podcast where it's just Ginny and her friend Cassie Parks, the most amazing coaches and law of attraction experts. And it's just a half an hour of, sometimes 20 minutes, but like half an hour of just really good targeted topics. And you're just going to leave in a better vibration afterwards. So
thank you, Elle.
Absolutely. And if you want to learn more about law of attraction and how to put all this stuff into play, it's definitely great to listen to Manifest It Now. I know that I'm always listening to it every Sunday when it comes out, because it helps me stay on track, helps me stay in my own lane, helps me, you know, do my own focus. And then I'm always looking for evidence, and it's a great place to hear the evidence. I always feel like you guys are talking to me when you guys are doing the podcast.
Yeah, that's good. Sometimes we are, Kate.
I know. I know which ones they are, I think. I can name them all.
When you have a live one, can you tell us, Ginny, too, because I know you announced it on your podcast, but for people that don't know, you also you kind of have created a version where you can kind of join live online, right, with you and Manifest It Live Now. Manifest It Now Live?
We're doing a virtual event.
That's what I mean.
Yes. On April 18th. So where you can join us. We're going to keep it super small and intimate to 10 people, but you can come on, and Cassie and I are going to ask us anything and we'll be right there.
Right.
So, and I was saying today we were recording a show, and especially in this time, right? It's like to connect with your people, like to feel that is going to be really powerful.
Yes. So manifestitnow.com is where you find that, where they can sign up for that.
Manifestitnowlive.com.
Manifestitnowlive.com. Okay.
Cassie does all the websites.
I know. You get the 18th, she gets the website. I know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so where can they find you, Ginny, if people want to?
Just at ginnygain.com, GINNYGANE.com.
Awesome. And Elle, tell us about the 2 books, where they can find your 2 books, the names of them, and then also where they can find you as well.
Sure. Well, the first one is the Paleo Thyroid Solution. So if you have a thyroid disorder of any kind, whether you want to fix it naturally or if that doesn't work, you need to go to medication, that's your book. I have a free thyroid guide on my website, so you don't even have to buy the book and you can get a head start. So that's lruss.com. You can just click free thyroid guide. It tells you all the tests you need to get, all the stuff. You don't need to buy my book to figure that stuff out, but you might need to buy my book to get a little bit deeper, but at least you can get on the right path. That book's on Amazon and almost everywhere. And then my second book, which just came out a couple months ago, called Confident as Fuck, F-U*K. Sorry for people that are offended by language out there. That's on Amazon as well in print and Kindle. And I'll be working on, obviously, the audiobooks. Now I have to hold myself accountable to said it publicly. So now I'm really now I did it.
Yeah,
I
feel
so
like
that's
it's
really fun.
so powerful hearing that in your voice.
Yes.
Like your words and your voice, like, because you have such a strong voice. That's going to be amazing.
Thank you.
It's gonna be
No, I'm
amazing.
excited. I mean, honestly, it's really fun. I'm having so much fun, interviewing and talking about this book. All the interviews have been great, including, on your podcast, Kate, and elsewhere. And just so fun. I mean, I will talk about thyroid till the cows come home. I'm sure I'll be doing that for the rest of my life as a subject expert, but it's always so nice to talk about this other part of life,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I'm just having so much fun, like really, really good stuff going on right now. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm looking forward to, how you get in your routine, you go and you do your practices, but now I feel like, oh, I'm excited for like deeper getting out the vision board again, even doing some more inspired action on lists and stuff. So I'm kind of having fun. I'm quarantined by myself. So, you guys have people to snuggle and doggies.
Yeah.
I might have to borrow a friend's dog soon, which I might do. No, really, I asked, because I'm going to need your dog for a couple
I
of
get it.
but it's also great because I'm like, well, like you used to put that meme up, Ginny, and I was laughing. It's like when you find out your lifestyle is called quarantine. That's kind of my life. So, it's great just working from home and doing all the stuff. What I like is that groups on text or friends that I know, we never FaceTime.
Mhm.
Somehow this is bringing people together for the need to see each other. So I've been on a couple of Zoom calls with like 7 friends, just, talking smack for the evening, friends that were always texting. And so in a way, it's kind of like, well, why weren't we always doing this? We all live apart, but I kind of like how the camaraderie is being like forced on us or pushed on us, because I'm excited about having more FaceTimes with my family and doing all that stuff. So I'm kind of having fun a little bit with that,
Good.
Cool.
That is so cool.
We got to get you on Manifest It Now, Elle, about your
I
book.
would love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You can't swear there though.
Yeah, you can. I think we changed our setting. I think we can.
You marked I saw that you marked a couple explicit, but here's the thing. I understand that. And so, I always tell the interviewers, like, listen, we do not need to, you can use as F, like we do not have to. It's funny because I was writing the book, Ginny, and when you got married, you and your wife were wearing the t-shirts that said married as AF. And I was like, oh, she's going to like the title of my next book.
Yes.
She's going to like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for
Thank you.
coming together, sharing some of your lovely energy with all of us. And I appreciate you guys very much, more than you know.
Thank you, Kate.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.